Shut up and sit down.
So, hello and welcome. I'm doing some modifications today to the mr2 and I'm working on the gear linkage on the gearbox. Where I've got the light shining at the moment, let's see if I can get you a decent view. On this peg here, it's the and that's the gear change cable. They go sloppy on the bush. Toyota use a rubber bush. I've got the rubber bush on the bench. I've had to get it out. What are these things? And they go all soft and squidgy. And that one's all misshaped, so it gave me a little bit of a floppy gear change. So I measured everything up last night and realised I could use a bearing in the end of the cable. So the bearing number I'm using, if anybody wants to know, is 6082RS1, and they're 22mm in diameter, 8mm bore, 7mm in width. That bearing fits perfectly into the cable and it will fit onto the stub, that little pin. Then all you've got to do is work your spacings out with washers, just so there's no up and down play in it. I've still got the second one to do, but I've just got the bush out of that one and put the bearing into the cable. I've now just got to clean that so the bearing slides onto it nicely. Then I can reassemble that and I can work my washer spacers out. At the moment I've got a big washer and a little washer in there at the moment. Bearing's just a little bit tight on the on there, so I'm going to give it a little finagle with some emery paper, and I'll show you what it looks like once I've got it together. This has cost me all of a tenner in bits for the washers and the bearings. I know there's kits out there on eBay and they're going to cost you about £30, but this will cost you a tenner. 2 bearings and all the washers. It's a lot cheaper. Just buy all the bits yourself. What took me ages to figure out is, I've seen the kits, I couldn't figure out what the bearing was. Or a lot of people use a brass bush, and I didn't want to use a brass bush, I wanted to use a bearing. So that's what we're up to. Little incremental changes to the mr2. That's a 608 2RS1 in the cable and on the pin. I've now just got to get my stack of washers correct on the top so I can put the circlip back in to hold it all together. So I'm going to work that out now. On the bottom I've got one big washer, one little washer, and I'm going to go little washer and then build it up from there. So let's see how many washers I need, and then this is a kit you can put together yourself. Right, I've got the first one done. What the stack of washers ended up being and how I built it up was a big washer, a little washer, the bearing, another little washer, another big washer, And then I used the original washer, because that makes up the gap. Then the circlip goes through to hold it all together. That's your stack of washers. So that basically, what I've got on the floor there, is what you need to do this conversion on that bearing. Like I said, 2 bearings, these washers, reuse the Toyota one, and that's a tenner's worth. That's all it's cost me to do, £10. So it's a really cheap conversion. It's cheaper than the bushes off Toyota, and it's cheaper than buying the kit off the internet. And all this is available. You can get your washers from Halfords. That's the part number for the big washers. I just went to Halfords to get these. Then the part number for the little washers is that. Fix G173 for the little ones. Fix G178 for the big ones. 608 2RS1. That's all the parts you need. Conversion's done. Your biggest struggle is getting the bush out of the cable, but the setup I made was 24mm socket, 8mm bolt, a washer, a nut, and I used this little contraption to pull the bush out of the cable. Right, I'm going to do the second one now. Right, I've done cable number 2 now. Again, the same washer stack. Big washer, little washer, bearing. Little washer, big washer, and then the original washer that comes off when you take it all apart, and that's the right spacing. So everything's lubricated up with PTFE grease. Now I've just got to reassemble the airbox and put everything back together. Well, removing them rubber bushes and putting the bearings into the gear linkage has made so much difference to that gear linkage. There's a lot less movement in it, and it's a lot more precise. It's very hard to show on camera just how nice it is now, how precise it is. You just got to take my word for it. Getting rid of the sloppy bushes and putting them 608 bearings in, yeah, that's the way to go. The whole kit, washers, bearings, comes to just shy of £15. It's a lot cheaper than buying it off the internet. All the part numbers are in the video. Thanks for watching.